if you're worried about income equality, globalization will fuel it. Income inequality income inequality has been talked about and written about for decades, but while universally decried as a bad thing and steadily getting worse, its causes and consequences are widely misunderstood or lost in economic jargon. The most glaringly absent piece of this puzzle was the powerful connection between income inequality and globalization. Globalization itself is a complex phenomenon, and it has been commonly represented as a good thing that, through the efficiencies of technology and the riches of multilateral cooperation, it would over time greatly benefit workers and consumers alike. The reality, however, exposed by the economic calamities from the financial crisis of 2008 to the pandemic of 2020, has been starkly different. Far from being the sunny face of an inevitable and always forward marching progress, globalization has always been revealed as a facade concealing the greatest transfer of wealth and income in human history, but with marginal benefit to consumers and for workers except the 1% and their enablers, untold economic devastation and personal misery. And not all have been blind to the rising perils caused by globalization. Prominent among credible voices, and once dismissed as alarmists, but now seen as a mainstream, is Dr. Danny Roderick, who is currently the Ford Foundation Professor of International Political Economy at the Harvard Kennedy School. Through more than 2 decades of research at Harvard and earlier at Columbia and the Institute of Advanced Study in Princeton, of New Jersey, basically, Roderick conclusively demonstrated that globalization essentially allowed multinational corporations to create a worldwide system for the express purpose of escaping the constraints of taxation, regula- regulation, unions, environmental laws, and most especially accountability to democratically elected governments. In books such as Has Globalization Gone Too Far, which was published in 1997, and The Globalization Paradox, which was published in 2011, he details how globalization not only destroyed millions of jobs, but that were held by once prosperous Western working class, but also did even greater damage to poor countries in the Latin America and sub-Saharan Africa, and some of which economic output collapsed entirely. Sometimes reality can be obscured when viewed through a too wide global lens, but it gains great clarity when seen in the microcosm of a single country. Such is the case of a remarkable book by French sociologist Christophe Goulet. Basically, his book Twilight of the Elites and Prosperity, the Periphery, and the Future of France back in 2019. The book had won acclaim throughout the English-speaking world, disturbing and affecting something profound that extends well beyond the border of France. The New York Times, and how the gulf between France's metropolitan elite and its working classes are tearing the country apart. This book will make you fret and question your moral integrity. Gully had persuasively asserts that the old liberal versus conservative is no longer relevant. Instead, he sees a new chasm in society, dividing those who are winners in globalization's new economic order and those who are considered to be the losers. The elites are not just the traditional upper class, but also the professional classes that support them, and without whom the social and economic transformation could not have occurred. The elites capture most of the benefits of offshore production and free trade, while the working classes are excluded and condemned to live outside their lives as second-class citizens. His date, Gillies, sorry, there. Gillies' data surprisingly demonstrates that the disposed working class is actually a majority of the country's population, which is 60%, and younger, owing to a higher birth rate than the elites who increasingly are having fewer children, and facts suggest considerable political ramifications for France's future. Accordingly, among some in the political class, as well as some in the cultural leaders, intellectuals, and journalists, there is a palpable sense of alarm that a new form of class conflict long assumed not to exist is now plain for all to see. The stunning growth of income inequality and the historically unprecedented transfer of wealth it entailed can be seen most graphically by examining the income distribution data for the United States from 1970 to 2007, which is the same period in which globalization was fastening a grip on the world economy. In 1970, the income share of the top 1% of households was 9%. In 2007, it went up to 24%. In a similar vein, the average income of the top 1% in 1978 was 10 times that of the remaining 99%. In 2007, it was 30 times greater. But not for nothing is economics known as the dismal science. And yet, however difficult to convey or comprehend, these statistics make abundantly clear that profound and ominous changes have overtaken our country and the world, and they do not bode well for the fucking future.